All right, today we're going over how to get a better mind-muscle connection, or some people like to call it the clitoris of bodybuilding, because the moment you think you got it, you lost it. So today I'm going to go over tips for each body part that'll instantly give you a better connection. So if you're ready, let's get after it. So when it comes to developing a better mind-muscle connection on any exercise, all you have to do is ask yourself 3 questions. First, is there any part of the movement that I already have a great connection with? If there is, just shorten it down to that range of motion and then either stay there or slowly work on expanding that rep until you get into full range of motion. The second is there any modification I can make to this movement that'll make a dramatic difference, which could be just changing the angle and putting yourself at a mechanical disadvantage, just making a small tweak that for your biomechanics makes the world of difference. And finally, if I was a clitoris, where would I hide? So one tip for quads that applies for everything from leg extension to hack squat to leg press to even sissy squat is any chance you get to lift those feet off the ground and put all that pressure on your heels, it's going to demand more from those quads and create a more intense contraction. For some reason, I sound like I got shit in my mouth. And with hamstrings, it's the exact opposite. Anytime you can point those toes away, plantar flexion the entire time, you're going to start that contraction off in your calves and rip it into those hamstrings. And yeah, you're not going to be able to use as much weight, but it's going to be one hell of a contraction. So if you're somebody that has a hard time connecting with the calves, then you're full of shit, because calves hurt for everybody. But just in case you want to make it worse, next time you're doing a seated calf raise, instead of putting that pad right above your knees like most people do, shove yourself in the machine even further. That way it's nice and high on those quads. It's going to put that calf in an extreme stretch position, but also it's going to put that hamstring right on top of that calf, so you have to flex against it, or just do what I'm doing right now, which is squat all the way down so your hamstrings are sitting right on top of those calves. And I promise, it's horrible. So if you follow any of my back videos, you know there's 2 things you got to do to make sure you have those wide, ridiculous-looking lats that you have to apologize for looking like an asshole because you can't put your arms down. And that's 1, keep the elbow in a fixed position the entire time. You're going to follow the natural arc of your lats a little bit easier, but also work against those lats. So lean forward during the stretch, lean back during the positive, and that's going to give you a great connection. But if that's not doing it for you, grab the Easy Bar cable attachment. And you might think that's going to jump into your biceps, but remember, we're never pulling straight towards our bodies. If you do, you're ruining your life. You're actually pulling around your body. So this is going to allow you to keep those elbows tucked in and follow all the way around. Side note, if you see somebody at the gym using the Easy Bar and pulling straight to their chest, just look at them across the gym and give them one of these, just to confuse the shit out of them. So when it comes to building thickness throughout that mid-back, I can definitely throw some heavy weight on a straight bar and just jerk it up and down. But in terms of a connection, nothing works better than locking that lower back into place and disengaging and re-engaging that mid-back. So flexion and extension, it's going to start the contraction off of those lower lats and drive it straight up. So when it comes to traps, it seems like people lose their shit. They're real methodical with every other body part, but they go and do shrugs and they just start jerking up and down, and that doesn't deserve to work. So if you want the best contraction possible for those traps, start by doing these 3 things. 1, tilt forward and find the perfect angle gives you the best connection. 2, hold the top for 3, maybe a 4 count. And then finally, between sets, just hold the weight. Your traps won't appreciate it. Then when it comes to shoulders, whether it's side laterals, rear delt flies, or even a front raise, the best thing you can do is break it down into 3 separate segments. You got the top, the middle, and the bottom. Now, one of those ranges you're going to connect with the most, and from there, you got options. You can either integrate more partial rep movements into your workout in that range of motion, which isn't a bad thing. I'd say half the exercises I do on shoulder day, I do them with partial reps because I have a great connection to them. But if you've never been able to connect with a full range of motion, that's something you want to work on. So say you have a connection to the bottom of the movement, then that's probably because you can flare that shoulder out and you connect really with that side delt. But as you start to come up even further, that trap jumps in. So all you have to do then is figure out what angle to pull your arm up at to really keep it in that lateral head. So when it comes to connecting with your chest, the name of the game is keeping those anterior delts out. So before you even start the movement, walk those shoulder blades together, push that chest nice and tall, and never lock it all the way out, because the only way you can get there is by using that delt. But we can also intensify the contraction by getting some rotation involved. So say you're doing a normal press, as you drive it up, if you rotate those dumbbells in to where you end up in a neutral grip, that's going to make it worse. Or say you're starting with a barrel press, and you start to supinate as you come up, it's going to make your life a lot worse as well too. Now, when it comes to connecting with your biceps and triceps, I would set up shop on a cable machine because between the different angles and the constant tension, it's not going to take long before you figure out exactly what you need to do to connect with them. Now, for triceps, I'd start out by going heavier than you normally do, but start in a fully stretched position and barely contract down. Do a couple sets there, and then after that, lighten up the weight each time and slowly work on increasing the range of motion. You'll be surprised how much these parcels at the bottom of the movement tear you up. Sometimes I'll just do sets of these all by themselves. And with biceps, it's just as simple. We have them start out by tucking their elbows into their stomach, and then we find the range of motion that's the most painful. And then from there, we slowly build upon it, increase that range of motion unless their shoulder gets involved or their elbow drifts forward and back. And in that case, I say, fuck you, go back to partials. So if you need more help kicking your ass, I'll link to the 30-day program below. It's 20 workouts, 20 videos. It's $20. And if you haven't got a chance, check these 2 videos out next. And most importantly, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and get after it, get growing. Talk to you soon.